All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's an exciting day today. It's a new challenge for me, but I am really excited to be sitting here with Shamit Shome, Canadian Bangladeshi professional footballer, born and raised in Edmonton, has played in the MLS, has played in the Canadian National League, and now we might be at a very exciting point where Shamit might be joining the Bangladesh national team. And it's my honor to be sitting here with you, Shamit. I want to sit here and get to know you today, and kind of show the people and show my community and show the Bangladeshi community here what you're about. So thank you so much for being with me. How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here and just chat some footy and life and all that. So it'll be cool.
100%. How's your day going? You just came from training?
Yeah, training in the morning. Just kind of chilling now in the afternoon. It's kind of downtime after a hard day. So yeah,
Crazy. You must have an insane schedule, bro. I want to know about everything from the beginning. Um, I want to start September 5th, 1997. Shamit Shome enters the world. What happens then, bro? And feel free to also start with where are your parents at? Two Bangladeshi immigrants settling down in Edmonton, Canada. What's their story?
yeah. I don't know how much time we have to go through everything, but I'll try to jam it out.
Yeah.
So I was born and raised in Edmonton. My parents immigrated there probably 5 or 6 years before. I have an older
Mm.
sister. So she was my parents moved over, I think in, I want to say like 1989, 1990. I was born 97. So they were there for about 6, 7 years. My dad came on a scholarship. He went to Buet in Dhaka, I think. And then,
Nice.
yeah, so he was pretty educated. He came on a scholarship to Edmonton. They kind of came with nothing, to be honest. And they're pretty young, 23. And my mom was 23. My dad was probably like 26. They had no
Crazy.
idea how to live life, man. So I hear the stories from them. And I'm like, it's crazy to think about now with like the life that I've been given, luckily. But yeah, I mean, they came with nothing. My dad worked his way up. My mom started school when she came here. She was a zoologist in Bangladesh, so that's what she studied, which is
No
probably
way.
pretty common from what I heard. She didn't use it in Canada, but she kind of went back to school right around the time that I was born. So, from the day I was born, I was surrounded by, hardworking parents that kind of put me in the best position possible to succeed. And it's hard, being an immigrant, like the stuff you have to go through. Even back then, more so when immigration was pretty new, and now we have an influx of immigrants, which is great, and we're getting more people here. But yeah, and then from a young age, they threw me into football just because that was the only sport they knew. Right? They didn't really know hockey, football. It's not really a thing back in Bangladesh. So yeah, my dad threw me into soccer when I was like 4 or 5, and then I kind of just worked my way up the ranks, playing youth soccer. I started playing up a year. People, parents of like teammates were saying that I was, better than people thought, or that I had a bit of quality, so that my parents should think about me like going into the club level or going to a higher level of like youth soccer. And then yeah, it kind of just trickled all over down from there, to be honest.
Crazy. Um, and we'll get to this in a bit, but you have so much on your plate, particularly when you were in Montreal. And again, I'm skipping ahead a little bit. But you were here literally doing a degree in engineering, in electrical engineering, correct? While also playing for Montreal FC, which is ridiculous. But that drive and that ability to do multiple things at the same time, did you have it from the beginning? And if you did have it from the beginning, what was it motivated by? Was it motivated by fear and structure, or was it motivated by like drive and motivation? Like, I really want to do all these things.
Yeah, it's funny. It was a mix of both, I'd say. And I'll go back to like when I was in junior high slash high school and I was playing youth soccer, and I was starting to get into the competitive level, starting to take soccer seriously. But at the same time, I was starting to fail. Like I wasn't doing as well in school. I started getting B's and C's or a little bit, which is bad for parents like ours. And so my mom actually threatened me in junior high. She's like, "Yo, if you don't do better in school, I'm gonna pull you out of soccer. You're done." And that was like the flick of the switch. And then I started trying harder in school. I started doing better, and I started realizing, okay, I'm actually like good at this. Like I can do it if I try hard, if I work hard. And then as I got older, it kind of actually turned into like a passion of mine, where I did like the studious side. My dad, they both went to school. I saw them. I saw my mom going to school. My dad's an engineer. I always looked up to them. So it's something that I actually did want to do as well as play soccer, if that makes sense. And growing up, my main goal was actually just to play soccer to get a scholarship to the university level, to get a full ride, so that scholar like school was taken care of and I could get an engineering degree. Then the whole professional football opportunity came up, and part of me was obviously open to just like leaving school behind. Let's just focus on soccer, live my life, which I think I could have done. at the end of the day, I'm glad I didn't, because I think the amount of things that I've learned from going to university in terms of just like building, meeting friends, like stuff like that, is really not attainable if I was just being a professional soccer player, just isolated. Because you are really isolated as a soccer player. That's the truth. You go to practice, you come home, you don't really go out, you don't really do stuff because you don't have time. So you're just kind of surrounded by your teammates. You don't get to mix with people. So yeah, I mean, when I was in Montreal, that was kind of like one of the triggers that allowed me to go to Montreal, was that I would continue doing my school. I think my parents kind of made that a must, and it's fair looking back at it. And it was a grind, man. I would train in the mornings. I would drive back home. I lived close to the training facility. Hop on the metro, take the metro to class. Concordia was directly related to the metro. So it was a grind, man. And now looking back on it, I don't know how I did it, but I guess when you're younger, you have the energy and you have the drive and the commitment. So
Insane, insane. I don't know how you did it. One other thing that I wanted to know about is that, through the years, a lot of your coaches have said that one of your biggest strengths is actually your game intelligence. And you had a maturity and an ability to read the game. Did you have that in the beginning? Apologies for the police sirens. What was that, reading the game from a young age? How do you get into that mindset?
honestly, I don't know, and I think it's just something that I've been lucky, is something that I've just picked up on when playing. I don't know if it's the way I see the game, if it's my background of being focused on academics and having that side of it. Maybe it is, but yeah, it did become a trend when I was young and just entering the professional game, and I think a lot of it is maturity, I guess, and I don't know where it came from, to be honest. And when I look back on it, I have no idea how I picked up on this, and it's not like I grew up watching football every day. I was busy hanging with friends, having a fun time. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's just the way I was raised. There's like a complexity of like deeper understanding of trying to understand things. And I guess maybe that's where it came from. And yeah, it is part of my game now, and I can definitely see that compared to other players or places that I've been, I do have a little bit better of an understanding of the game. I would think.
When you were first starting out in these academies and stuff like that, were you usually the only brown guy there?
Oh yeah, 100%. Almost like even my youth team too. There's probably like three or four in my youth team. Okay, fine. Once you got to the academies, really,
Yeah,
really
bro.
scarce.
Especially in Alberta, because in Toronto, I imagine it might be a bit different. But did you feel you were ever underestimated because of that?
Maybe. I don't know for sure looking back on it. Like there was never really that anything that highlighted that to me. But I definitely did notice was that there weren't many guys like me, and it's common, right? It's not something that's maybe not supported, or you just don't get the family support or the time and commitment. So
So how'd you make friends? How'd you socialize? Would you go through bouts of loneliness and stuff? Like, how'd you deal with that?
yeah, it's interesting. I wouldn't say I went through bouts of loneliness because I was still in school at the time, so I had my school friends and all that. And it's funny, all my school friends were guys that looked like me. They were Indian, Bengali, Pakistani, Arab, some were Asian. But I
But
actually,
you're
sorry.
But was it, sorry to cut you off, but that's also interesting because I'm just picturing like you're hanging out with the brown kids in Edmonton, but you're out here playing pro soccer. I mean, this is the dream
Hmm.
of every brown, because we might not be a big footballing subcontinent in that sense. We are a huge football watching and FIFA playing continent. I mean, we are obsessed
Hmm.
with a lot of that. You're living the dream. I mean, so just like, was it easy also being in both communities at the same time then? Because how are you not just distracted by everything all the time? There's so much happening.
Yeah, and to be honest, that's a really good point. It was distracting. There are like things that make it tough. When you go out to like family dinners with like family friends and they're feeding you biryani, chicken roast, and all this stuff, and I'm like, geez, I
Yeah.
start stuffing myself. Next day at
Yeah.
training, I feel terrible. You know what I mean?
Oh my
So
God.
so it is a balance, but I'm also lucky to experience both.
I can't imagine going to soccer training with a stomach half full of borhani.
Dude,
Like,
I've learned to
I
control
think that's
myself.
crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy, man. So okay, we skipped ahead a little bit, and basically how I want to do this, I want to do some like basic life stuff with you, and then we have a really fun quick fire situation at the end where I'm just gonna hit a bunch of stuff with you. You're an
Perfect.
Arsenal fan. You're a Gooner. Are you a diehard Gooner? Have you always been like from a young age, or like where'd that come in?
Yeah, I'd say I'm a pretty diehard Gooner. I think they're the team that I started watching when I was younger, when I was probably 6 or 7. The Invincible eras, the Thierry Henry, Cesc
So
Fabregas era.
you were how old during the Invincible era?
Man, I was probably like 7 or 8 to be honest. So I got like I got the end of it, to be honest. Yeah.
That's the impressionable age, and that's when most kids choose their allegiance. um or like yeah, until like that 12 years old situation, because like I'm a I'm a United fan. That's what's
Wow.
up. We're going through a tough time right now, but
Tough.
hey, I my first season that I saw fully was our last season. I'm sorry, with Van Persie. So just like, I'm sorry about that. But
Yeah.
and that stuck with me so much, and that glory stuck with me so much. What was it like being an Arsenal fan when you were 7 years old? They just did the Invincibles. What was that like?
Man, they were the kings. They're untouchable, and I
Take
just
me
love the way
back.
I just love the football they play too, right? Like they were the old school Barcelona before Barcelona became a thing. They were the Barca of the Prem, just like tic tac. So I love Cesc Fabregas. I fell in love with Cesc Fabregas before he betrayed us and went to Chelsea, and like Van Persie did. But yeah,
Is he the first player you kind of started basing your play around?
yeah, definitely. I think as a midfielder and just his vision, I mean, he's a baller, man.
Yeah.
So
And he started so young. He was that wonder kid as well. What, like 16 at his first appearance, something like that. Now we take it for granted. Now you have Lamine Yamal's and Ansu
yeah,
Fati's and whatnot and Kobe Manu's, but still back then, that was crazy.
yeah, for sure.
Um, that's fantastic. Have you ever been to an Arsenal game?
Never actually, but it's something that
Yeah,
I definitely have to do. Just don't have time.
we'll make that happen.
Yeah.
We'll make that happen. We got someone in the green room on this call right now that can help make that happen one day. Um, It's an awesome time to be an Arsenal fan right now. That game against Real, Declan Rice. I mean, oh my
Oh,
God.
unreal.
What? I don't get the opportunity every day to talk to a professional footballer. So I'm going to ask you a completely trivial question that doesn't matter for my life whatsoever. But how do you hit a free kick like
I'm still trying to learn, to be honest. I don't know.
that?
I'm still trying to figure that out. But it's unreal, man. It was a beauty.
And the mentality that you have to, I know he bossed the midfield that whole time. I mean, crazy. Anyway, enough about Arsenal. Let's talk about Bangladesh. We're at an exciting period. On the pitch, we're yet to see a lot. Obviously, we've had Hamza on the pitch now, but now like all sorts of names going around. Cuba Mitchell here, Famidul Islam here, and right now in front of me I have you. Um, what's the situation with all that? How's it been? What's the journey been so far? Where kind of are you at with the Bangladesh national team stuff?
Yeah, it's been a long process, but we're moving pretty quickly. And to be fair, I think like the federation is doing a really good job of making things move quickly. Right now, I'm at like the passport stage. I gotta go to Toronto, get some paperwork done, get my biometrics done to get the passport, and then from there, it's getting clearance from FIFA, from Canada Soccer, and then the switch is good. So I'm pretty optimistic, but yeah.
And do you know if everything goes to plan, what'll be the first fixture that you might play in?
If everything goes to plan, it'll be June 10th, and I hope that, and I think we're all optimistic, but you never
Is
know.
that Singapore?
That's Singapore in Bangladesh. Yeah,
Fun fact, you know who we won our first ever national game against? It was
really,
Singapore. Yeah,
really, wow,
1973.
wow.
Um, Bangladesh national team has had a crazy journey over the past 50 odd years because there's been a lot of ups and downs, and we've had moments of like, we're going to get development in, but then various things happen. But I don't think we've ever felt like we felt now, where we're getting players from the diaspora that are actually getting developed in some of the best academies in the world and coming back. If you are to come back to the homeland, what do you want to impart on the youth? What mentality, what teachings do you want to bring into this team? Um, and we'll get a bit more into tactics, and I want to ask you kind of what role you want to play tactically. But I want to think emotionally and drive wise and almost philosophically. You've been through the gauntlet. These kids are really going to look up to. What do you want to tell them?
Yeah, man. I get asked this question in general, but it's interesting now, with the whole Bangladesh concept incorporated into it. But man, for me, it's always the same. It's work ethic and like drive and desire. You can really do anything that you put your mind to. I think if you're really committed to it. And I think that's where it came from for me. I'm not the most talented player. I wasn't given the most talents, but I've worked hard to be where I am. I could tell you the amount of like, there's so many players that were when we were younger that were better than me probably. But in the end, I'm here. I'm the one that's playing professional and not them. And I'm just fortunate enough in that situation. But I think I also, you got to have that drive, that work ethic, that desire. And it's more than just words, right? You got to implement it and put it in action. So I hope the way I play can also show that. I'm curious how that'll go in the 30 degrees heat, but I'm excited for that.
Yeah. Let's talk about that a little bit. What kind of role do you enjoy playing the most, and what do you think suits your play the most?
Yeah, I like playing box to box.
Mm.
Being involved in all parts of the play, defensively, offensively. I like to do both things. I think my favorite thing to do is just connect the play between the back line and the front line.
Hmm.
And so I get
Hmm.
to do a bit of everything, and that's where I feel the most involved.
Most definitely. The biggest issue we've had in the Bangladesh national team has been goal scoring, more than anything. And we've had good midfields and we've had good defenses in the past, but we struggle to score goals. So that ability to link up to the front is going to be so important. But we really need to also find that talent up front, or find that leadership up front, because we're building such an amazing core. And just the thought of seeing you and Hamza next to each other, man, just as a fan, is just like, brings a glitter into my eye of like, you know, I I can't wait. Yeah, man. Let's get into some quick fire.
Let's do
Okay,
it.
let's get into some simple quick fire. Um, who was your first professional goal against?
New England Revolution in MLS in
T-
Boston.
Tell me about that a little bit. What was that experience like?
Very special feeling. It was actually a pretty easy goal, to be honest. It was a tap in. I just followed it up, got a lucky tap in.
Yeah,
But
nice.
very special. It was the goal that it was the game winning goal in the end, and that entire match I remember very well because it was probably one of the better matches I've had overall. So
And
yeah,
how old were you at that point?
I think I was 22 or 21.
Crazy,
Yeah.
crazy. তোর মিষ্টি খাওয়াইছে পরে?
কেউ তো বুঝে নাই, কেউ তো জানে না যে এটা করতে হয়। But
Crazy. ঢাকায় আসলে কিন্তু তোমার অনেক মিষ্টি খাওয়াবে। So be prepared for that.
yeah.
Okay, who's your first red card against? I actually don't know if you've ever gotten one.
I got one, and the first one I got was red. Was last year actually, which was I was 26, which is crazy.
No
Um,
way. What was that? Was it two yellows or?
it was a yellow and then a straight red. Crazy,
Oh shit! Damn. Oh,
crazy.
I don't know if I can
But the red card, in
swear.
my defense, the red card, it wasn't even me trying to tackle somebody. Is I had the ball, I took a bad
Yeah,
touch, I tried to play the
yeah.
ball, so I slid, and then as I slid and missed the ball, I 2-footed somebody right in
You
the
just caught him. Ah,
crazy. Yeah,
unfortunate.
yeah.
Unlucky.
We still won that
It
game though,
happens.
so lucky.
Okay, great. Nice. Cool, cool, cool. All right. One thing your parents don't know about you.
Oh man, I don't know. That's actually such a loaded question, but I don't know. I might have to go no comment. I don't know. I can't think of one off the top of my
No
head.
comment?
No comment, or I don't
Damn.
know. Uh,
Behind the scenes. Cool. Um, favorite Bangla song slash musician?
oh, that's a hard one. I don't know enough to be honest. I know you put me on some songs, and I've been jamming out to them.
Yeah, yeah.
Right now, I'll say you're my favorite musician because that's the one I'm most
Ah,
familiar with. Easy
appreciate
answer.
it. Appreciate it, bro. Okay, appreciate it. Favorite song, period, and especially if you have a pre-game song that you go to.
I don't have a specific song that I always listen to. I just kind of listen to what I'm vibing with in the moment. I listen to a lot of Drake, a lot of Kendrick, which is funny because of the beef, but I like listening to both sides. Different vibe from each. But yeah, I'm overall just an R&B hip hop kind of guy.
Hell yeah. All right. Poutine or biryani?
Ooh, that's it's got to be biryani, man. Come on,
It's gotta be biryani.
gotta
That's
be.
the
Poutine once every while, but biryani consistently.
yeah. Henri or Bergkamp?
Ooh, I go Burkamp.
Bergkamp.
I go
Really?
Burkamp. I go
Okay.
Burkamp. Yeah.
Why?
I don't know. I just maybe it's a little bit of I don't know. I've worked with Henri before, and he's a baller. He's the man. He's the legend. But I
Of
picked
course.
Burkamp. Maybe I'm a bit bitter with how it went to Montreal. I don't know.
Yeah, 100%. And like, I like to hear that. I know a lot of people have asked you about the Henri stuff, but I'm sure you have so many other incredible people that you've worked with. Um, so yeah, we won't even touch on the best player you've ever played with, not against, but
Oh,
could be
yeah.
someone even in the youth team.
I'd say it'd be Nacho Piatti was with Montreal. He was, he ran that league too. He was the kingpin of Montreal. Youth team, I would say Alfonso Davies. Obviously, I played with him up until like the U23 level
Fonzie.
and senior team, and he's you can tell.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Was Wanyama in the Montreal team when you were there?
And he was so good too. But by the end, he was towards the end of his career. You could tell how good he was. I mean, you just couldn't get the ball off him. He didn't even check his shoulders. He just took a touch and then just bodied everybody.
Crazy.
Yeah, he was a monster.
I can What's Victor Wanyama like? I've never had the opportunity to ask a human being that question, but
Dude, honestly, out of all the higher play, like big profile players that I've played with or against, he's like probably the most humblest, nicest guy. Just so
oh,
genuine, so nice. Yeah, I don't have a word wrong with him. Super good guy.
Shouts out Victor Wanyama.
Shout out Victor
Absolutely.
Wanyama.
Okay. Mertesacker or Koscielny?
Koscielny. I'm not a big Mertesacker
Koscielny?
guy. Yeah, I like Koscielny was a monster back in the day, man.
Yeah. Shouts out Per. Um, one part of your Bangladeshi roots that you bring onto the pitch.
I think my passion.
Mm-hmm.
I think you can tell that I'm very passionate about the game in the way that I communicate with players, the way I, you know, perform and the intensity I try to train at. It all comes from
Yeah.
passion and just loving the game.
100%. One part of your Canadian roots you bring to the pitch.
Oh, that's interesting. I don't know what I'd say there. They're both good questions to be honest. I don't know. I think bringing a sense of calm and like level-headedness. I think especially from like the Bangladeshi culture. There's always a sense of franticness or rush, or kind of aggressiveness almost. And I think being from Canada, there's a little bit of level-headedness or calmness or peacefulness, which you can bring into the game to kind of be like a calming presence when everything goes chaotic.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny how those kind of balance each other out. You
Composed
know?
intensity is how I say it. Just a mix of both.
Composed intensity. Love that. On that note, best piece of coaching advice you've ever gotten?
Best piece of coaching advice I've ever. I think this is the one that I can just think of in the first place, and I'm just gonna go with it. I used to get yelled at so much for dribbling too much or trying to take too many touches in training and in games. And I think the simplest thing the coach said is, Sham, just keep it simple. Play up to 3 touches, move the ball. That's your job in the midfield, and join the attack. And the other one would be actually don't always come for the ball, stay behind the lines and kind of lurk between the lines. And I think that's a big part of where this whole intelligence concept came from, because people would see that I'm not always chasing the ball to get on it, kind of lurking and waiting for the right moment for when the team can find me in the right spot to hurt the team that we're playing against the most like impactful way. So
Most definitely.
yeah.
Okay. Podolski or Arshavin?
Ooh, I'll go Arshavin because he's the OG, but
Yeah.
Podolski's left foot was a rocket, man. But Arshavin was the OG, so
They both got, along with Ozil, probably top three left foots in Arsenal history.
yeah. That's a tough question though. That's actually a really good one, really tight.
Last time you cried?
Last time I cried, oh, it's been a while, thankfully.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I would say it might have been when we played Pumas in Mexico. We played them the beginning, in February is in the second leg. We lost. We were in the lead. We lost. And then I did hurt my ankle, and I was out for probably 2-3 months after that. So I think probably maybe that is when I would say,
Damn.
yeah, man.
What's that like? Especially that first second while you're on the pitch and you know you're injured, but not necessarily how injured you are. What does that feel like?
Yeah, it sucks because you're still playing, you're trying to push through it, but then in the inside, like, nah, this is too bad, so it must be worse than I think. And you always try to be optimistic and whatnot, but it's not great. Being injured is probably the hardest thing about being a professional that people don't see, I guess, or realize. But yeah,
Most definitely. Okay. Kieran Gibbs or Kieran Tierney?
wow,
Just two Kierans.
gotta be Kieran Gibbs. Gotta be Kieran Gibbs.
Gibbs was underrated. Gibbs had some amazing times. I remember when I was super young, I remember like Gibbs had some nice spells right there.
He's a baller, man. He was good.
um, what's tougher, defending a 1-0 lead or cramming an electrical engineering exam?
Cramming an electrical engineering exam, man.
Yeah,
That's
Loki.
just you versus you, man. That's just you on your own. At
That's
least,
just you versus you.
yeah, you got the team when you're defending a 1-0 lead, so a bit less pressure.
That's true. That's true. Okay. Um, if football didn't work out, what would you like to be doing?
I think the safe or the easy answer is an electrical engineer. What I would want to do in another world is have like a coffee shop / smoothie bar and just like kick it there, make it like a little office space for everybody.
Totally a post-football option for you.
100%. We'll
Totally
see.
something you could do. Are you interested in coaching at all?
I
A bit early for you in your career to think about that, but like, yeah.
bit early, and I've been asked this because of people say that I have an intelligence of the game or whatever. But I don't know. I don't know if I would. I think when I'm done playing soccer, I think I'll come to terms with that. And so I don't know if I'd go into coaching. Maybe like youth soccer just for fun. I've done that in the past, and I love working with kids, and it's been fun and kind of helping the next gen. Professionally and academy wise or professional wise, I don't think so.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Three words to describe brown excellence.
3 words to describe brown excellence. Wow, that's also a loaded question. I don't know. Do I just say like work ethic?
Speak for yourself, especially because, bro, like you are such an example of brown excellence.
Hmm.
And there's something thankless about excellence because, yeah, like nobody will ever talk about the hard parts and the parts where you're like, this might not work out, or the lonely parts. And when you're winning, it's great. But when you're not winning, only the real ones, only the day ones are with you. And
Okay.
it's those kinds of, but nonetheless, you push through it. Um, how did you reach that point of excellence to have an electrical engineering degree and be a professional footballer and be a Bangladeshi? It's remarkable. It's statistically very significant for you to be able to do all of those things to a successful level.
Yeah.
How? You know, how?
Thank
How
you,
the
bro.
hell?
I
How'd you do
appreciate
it?
that. I appreciate that. I would say the 3 words that I think, and to be honest, you made it easy for me. Is I'd say commitment, passion, and then almost having that chip on your shoulder, or thinking that there's not a lot of. It's hard to have brown excellence because it's not common in different fields like that you're in, like with music, with football, in these kind of different roles. Everybody is an engineer, a doctor, a lawyer. But kind of driving the needle and being different, being unique is probably the last thing, and just following your own path, making your own path.
Most definitely. Or if you're Matthew Flamini, use your
That's the
engineering degree to become a gazillionaire.
that's the real goal. It's the
That's the
dream. The
real
dream.
goal. That's what's up, bro. We're gonna make you an electrical engineering magnate in Bangladesh. Um, okay, just a couple more. Who's coming up next for Canadian football? I know there's everything Bangladesh football, but like you came up in the Canadian system. Who's next? Do you know anything in the grapevine? Who's the next like superstar coming out of Canada?
I don't, but I do know that I think Canada's moving in a really good direction. With the Canadian Premier League that I play in, with the youth talent coming up from there, with the quality of the team that's now, they're on their way up, and they'll be competing with the big dogs pretty soon. So
Yeah, yeah, most definitely. Um, World Cup is coming up, happening in North America. Who's your pick? Who's winning?
it's a good one. I've always been a Germany fan. That's kind of that's what I grew up with. I know it's not Brazil or Argentina like the basic ones, but I've just been German. I've been a Germany fan. I don't think Germany's going to win. I think it'll be a Brazil. I'm thinking Brazil will bounce back.
Really
They've struggled, and Argentina had their moment. I think Brazil needs their moment, and I actually hope they do have their moment because I love them too. I love watching the South American teams
interesting. Because Brazil are in catastrophic form right now. Like for Brazil standards,
for
like they're
sure.
in catastrophic
I'm
form.
just hoping they can turn it around, but who knows?
And the balance in their squad is a little off. And I think there's a lot of superstars in there, but they don't know how to fit them all in. But 2026 is a while away. A
Yeah,
lot can
we'll see.
happen.
We'll see, man. A lot can change.
Yeah, 100%. Um, that's all I had in terms of my questions like that. But I mentioned this to you as well, and like I'll be very careful on how I touch on this. I'll be respectful on how I touch on this. But Bangladesh is in an interesting position right now. We're in a really crazy time. Bangladesh is going through a really, really crazy time. Obviously, we know what's happened. We know what's happening politically. We know what's happening socioeconomically. I grew up in Bangladesh. You grew up outside of Bangladesh, but have had to still, be connected to so many things in the homeland throughout your life. There's this big homecoming that could happen soon for you. Bro, there's a lot of people that are gonna look up to you. And you can, sort of go about it and just do your job and just do that part. But there is a space for all of you in this new era for Bangladeshi football, to really be role models for a lot of people, and specifically for the youth, because the youth is really lost. It is not even the irony is not lost on me that we're conducting this whole interview in English. It's not going to be accessible to a lot of the most talented players, for example, that are in the country. And something about that should be done, in the future, something like that. But do you realize this sort of like crazy situation you're going into? Do you think about that? And do you think about your role as a leader and someone who could actually push for the development of a whole sport in this whole new country. How does that weigh on you? Um, and again, lastly, just what do you want to say to the people?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I don't think I have processed what it really means yet. Obviously my phone's blown up a little bit with all the things that have been going on, and I'm still here. There's a separation. I think once I go there, and once I'm in Bangladesh, I'll really feel the impact, or the passion, and what's really going on there. So it's something I'm really excited for. But no, I'm just excited to go there, and I want to earn the respect of people too, because I know I don't just deserve to walk into Bangladesh and think, okay, I'm the man now, right? So I'm going there, and that's almost kind of, I think, something that I can do as a way of leading by example, or showing the generation there. It's like nothing's given to you, and I don't think anything's gonna be given to me when I go there. I'm kind of like, I gotta earn my badge. I'm not like a Hamza Chaudhry who played in the Prem, who's such a big player. I still know what I can do, and I still know the quality I bring, but I'm going in there to earn my respect first, and to lead by example. And I think that's probably how I kind of behave when I'm there, and try to earn that respect, is what I would try to show to the youth is you got to go earn it for yourself, man. Otherwise, you won't get that respect or that appreciation, or you won't get given anything in life, especially coming from Bangladesh, especially as me being a minority player in Canada. Nothing's gonna be given to you, so you gotta go out and earn it, and just ball out, or perform to the best you can to get that respect.
Absolutely, man. And I think, I mean, I am so optimistic. I'm pessimistic about so many things. I'm normally a very pessimistic person. And I think Bengalis are. We are kind of like a pessimistic people. But I'm so optimistic about this because I think the fundamentals are aligned. I think we're getting the right kinds of personalities at the right time at a good age. I think, bro, where you are right now, you're in your prime.
Hmm.
But you also have maturity, and you've been through a lot, and you can be a leader, and you can go to teenage players and put that arm around their shoulder, or have that moment of leadership, or be there in the huddle and just say that one right thing that has worked because you've seen it work. You've seen incredible players use these tactics for leadership and management, and you can actually apply them. But just when you're there, bro, connect with the people, connect with the youth. You're gonna be busy and you're gonna be hounded, but see where the culture is at, connect with the youth, see what you can to develop football as a sport. I think increasingly, as we deal with stuff like political instability, youth unemployment, things like that, young people need outlets. And we need those outlets to be things like team sports, things like music. I'm trying my best to make sure it's things like music. Um, but it's got to be youth focused because we're a country of 20 somethings. We really are. We're all just a country of 20 somethings, and we're just fumbling around in the dark trying to find the light switch. Um, but we're close, bro. Like it's happening, it's fun times and it's exciting, but I wouldn't have it any other way, you know?
Yeah, man.
So it's beautiful, man. So that's basically all I got from my side, bro. If there's anything else you want to add on your end, um, feel free.
No, man. I think
Uh,
we covered most things. I'm just excited to, once I get all this paperwork stuff done, to have the opportunity to play there, and represent Bangladesh will be pretty special. And I'm just looking forward to it.
Absolutely. And let me know when you're in Toronto or Montreal or on the East Coast at all. And yo, we got to get you to check out some of our Bengali events that we put on
I'm down,
and
man,
kind of see what's happening in the Toronto underground
for
with the
sure.
Bengali scene here. But I think you'll like that very much. But other than that, bro, thank you so much. It's such an honor to get to speak to you, regardless of what happens from here on out. Like all the best to you. All mad, mad, mad respect to you. It's so, so inspirational. Me, as a brown guy in Montreal, bro, there's barely any brown people in Montreal, let alone Bengalis. I feel so alone here, so many times. And I have my friend circle here, but I can feel so alienated here. And to know that someone like you balled out here, like is just it makes me feel like I can do it. If he can do it, I can do it. It's that simple rhetoric that pushes us forward as a society.
I love that, bro. I love it.
So
Yeah.
mad love, mad respect. Wish you the best, and we're here.